Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators and members of the House, and to everyone present today. Let me start our case by stating how the proposition began their case with the narrative that men are the primary perpetrators of gun violence. Therefore, they all should be banned from gun ownership. Well, let's step back for a minute. In an attempt to restore men's humanity by disarming men, they've single-handedly dehumanized men themselves. Why? Because they're practically framing them as time-ticking bombs who can't hold themselves in, and practically in any minute they're about to explode and create violence. Well, it's dangerous and discriminative. Why? Guns weren't meant to be a gendered issue. They're dangerous in the first place, but they're even more dangerous in the wrong hands because of their ill intentions and lack of responsibility. This is a problem that can't be fixed by punishing half the population. It's by training, accountability, and systems that protects everyone. Today, the government might tell you that to save lives, banning men from owning guns is the solution. Well, we believe that its categorical accusations and discrimination isn't the right way. It's practically oversimplification of why gun violence exists in the first place. Well, let me tell you how the proposition is practically painting a picture how men are dangerous with guns. This leads to our first argument. Yes, men commit more gun-related crimes, statistically, but does it mean that every man walking on this earth is dangerous? Absolutely not. This is practically collective punishment. This strips all rights because some misuse it and abuse it to their will. Let's imagine, what if we live in a world where women are banned from driving just because some got into car accidents and actually risked their lives? This is absurd and bizarre and unjustified. And most importantly, it's biased. We shouldn't abandon individual responsibility, especially in stereotyping. This leads to our second argument, where the proposition said how women generally are more responsible. So, why not apply that same logic towards all gender, towards everyone, regardless of their non-binary or men or women? You provide background checks, training before they own guns that are watched by professionals, and we should hold mental health evaluations where we make sure that the people utilizing these guns are actually worthy of it. And we shall have regulations of regular renewals of license so that every now and then we know that they won't be misusing these guns anytime soon. These factors are the things that actually targets the actual cause, not the gender. By letting only women holding guns, this will lead to unfair enforcement and illegal distribution. This leads to unregulated violence minority. This leads to instead of oppressing violence, this actually escalates violence. Our third argument let's talk. If you ban guns for men or for one gender, this will lead to black markets exploding. Criminals who don't follow the law will eventually find a way for gun smuggling. This will increase underground sales, and us as government won't understand a thing. Violent men who now feel cornered would be full of resentment. They'll turn into more extreme tactics to get that gun on their hands. If not, they will turn into extreme tactics that are gun-related, but they would eventually hurt more people nevertheless. This will target women for theft and misuse, especially in domestic contexts. This might lead to abuse, where men are abusing, are manipulating these women just for them to hand over their guns, just because. And this practically relocates violence. You're not stopping them. This makes it even worse. Our next argument is that this ban is ineffective. Individuals should be judged based on their actions, not genders. If anything, treating men as if they're children who lack responsibility is just unfair and unjust. If our goal is to restore humanity at its finest, this is not the right way. This punishes good for the action of the bad ones. This is lazy lawmaking. We need some deep solutions for the actual deep problems. Let me tell you how this leads to our last argument, where women. This leads to our third argument, where women aren't actually turned into the vulnerable victims. Why? Well, proposition said that women would feel safer because only they have guns. Let me tell you what would happen when only one gender are armed. By creating the narrative that only women are responsible enough to own guns, we're practically putting unrealistic pressure on women, especially in dangerous jobs. What will happen in communities where women aren't allowed outside often, or often they lack resources? When men are supposed to protect them, you're just making room for them to be more vulnerable without protection. Removing rights isn't restoring humanity. Disarming men, or just one gender in general, will only create resentment and fear. Men aren't just perpetrators. They're a father who could be protecting their family. They could be a civilian who lives in high crime areas. And these people deserve safety too. If what the proposition says happens, this will discourage men to report abuse, since they're not the vulnerable ones. 2, they will create new forms of criminality without guns that will be more extreme. 3, you're not solving the real problem, why they choose violence in the first place. You don't empower a gender by oppressing the other. It's discriminatory and unjustified. Let me end on a note. Equality is exactly what matters. You can't justify rights based on gender. You can't fight injustice with more injustice. It's ironic. Violence grows because they're unchecked, because we don't have the regulations for it. And this is what we should be fixing right now. This is what we should be focusing about. The system is learning and improving. And what the proposition is proposing right now is unjust. Justice is based on action. Freedom is protected by freedom. Freedom is protected by us. So, we are proud to stand on the opposition. Thank you.